Season 2 of Echo and Ember is sponsored by WizKid Creative.
My name is Hannah Rankin, and this is Echo and Ember.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Joe.
I say this before every episode, and my editor is going to just be tired of hearing this from me, but I'm really excited to talk to you because I haven't told you this. I think you're one of the most brilliant people that I know in terms of just like you low-key might be a genius. Yes, you low-key might be a genius.
What?
And I just want to get inside of your head.
That is the sweetest thing. Thank you, Joe. That's really cool.
And I just want to get inside of your head if I can.
You're going to make me nervous immediately.
No,
that's
don't
so
even worry.
incredible.
Here's the thing. Just be you.
Good.
Like you, how you are and who you are and who's in that chair right now.
That's really kind.
That's who we need.
I love that.
So we know you're Hannah.
I'm Hannah.
You can just talk to me. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do.
Okay, what I do. And who I am and what I do, maybe they're different. Should they be? Oof. Maybe
However
we should talk about
it.
exactly that.
However you want
I'll
it.
tell you a little bit about what I do because that's what brought us together is working together. I originated as an industrial designer, and I'm industrial designer now made all things marketing guru.
Interesting.
Yeah, and admittedly, I hear when I say that to people, they often go like, "Oh, wow, big change," and I don't feel that way.
I can see that.
Industrial design inherently is the making of things, and marketing is selling them. And so I think in order to do marketing well, at the root of that, like I make people buy things. And in order to make somebody buy something, you have to make them feel something. And typically I'm selling things. Admittedly, most of my career has been in B2C marketing, but I work most heavily now in B2B marketing. But anyway, I started in industrial design. I went to the University of Cincinnati College of Design, Art, Architecture, and Planning. Go Bearcats.
Wow.
Mouthful, but you can call it DAP.
Okay.
Anyway, back in Cincinnati, Ohio, where I grew up, and I actually moved here for an advertising job. So I went all the way from industrial design to advertising. But really, it's been a journey of making things and making people feel things. And I think marketing, admittedly, a lot of the industry is specialized. And what I have found in my experience is that when you can get around a thing or a product or an experience from the entire 360, the way that the consumer experiences it, the better marketing goes. So I have spent time honestly curating experiences from around that 360 in hopes that one day I can have a full picture view of how consumers feel stuff. So I did a stint in packaging design, actual physical
Sorry.
packaging.
Go continue.
Turn it off,
Sorry.
man.
I know, right?
Heck?
Rude as
At least
hell.
it wasn't me. You should hang a sign here. Rules. Turn off your phone.
Yeah, thank you, please. Sorry, continue.
No, all good. So industrial design, making of things. I started out actually making packaging design, physical structures, on-pack graphics, that type of thing. Then I went into experience design, so actual retail stores, where those items are sold. A little bit in museum design, which was fun.
Really?
Very short, but really, really fun.
Cool.
That just takes the exact same things and makes the scale humongous, but effectively solving the same problems, I think. And then my most experience is in brand strategy.
Okay.
So I then worked for a branding agency and did brand strategy for some of the biggest names in the world, Microsoft, Johnson & Johnson,
Come on.
P&G,
Drop 'em.
let's go.
Let's go.
And I did the bigs, and it was a blast. I worked with insanely talented people, huge teams, huge budgets. And then I've worked with small companies. I went into advertising then, but mostly, if not always, new to world brands, new to world products, which is what I'm working in now, a new to world B2B software company.
Okay, right on. Very cool. The thing that I latched on immediately was what you said. It's I make things and I make people feel things.
Yes,
and I think if
absolutely.
you could sum up a creative into one statement, it would be that I make things and I make people feel things. And this is why I'm excited to talk to you, is because I feel like that's very much captures what you do. But when we think of that, we often think of with a creative is like, oh, I'm going to paint something or I'm going to write something.
Sure.
But like brand strategy is a form of creativity.
Without question.
You know, and so
I think it should be. I think if it's not, you're not doing it well.
I agree. I think, and as I'm kind of finding my way doing my own stuff, like I find myself going, oh, okay, cool. Like you want to do a video, but like, what's the point? And that question opens the door for brand strategy on the front end.
Without question.
So I guess like my question with that is like, as you've gone through all of these multiple different things, is there like one thread or like a specific skill set that you found consistently showing up in all those different things that you've done?
I think this skill set is in problem solving, because I think what you're saying is, oh, I'm gonna paint or I'm gonna make things. Yes, that's true. I do enjoy doing that, but it's really on the career side, the business of making things, and I think that that's really crucial. In fact, I think it's the key difference between art and design. Art, you're making something. It's for you. It might be for you. It's self-expression. But the business of making things, that's design. That's advertising. That's brand strategy. That's getting a product on shelf, getting it seen, getting it bought, hopefully for the most you can, admittedly. So the business of making things, in my mind, is problem solving. And that is, what do we need to do? What is the goal? Who are we talking to? And how can we convince them to do whatever action we want them to do? If it's, I want you to buy this thing, I want you to go all the way through checkout. I want you to look at this thing, consume this thing, feel this thing. I mean, click through here, all of those things. Like, what do I want them to do? But even admittedly, especially on the strategy side, there's a lot of times where I'm building a deck and the audience is my stakeholder or my investor or my board. And what I want them to do is believe in me, believe in the project, fund it, whatever that is.
Give me that big bag of money.
I mean, yeah. And, you know, you've got shareholders to maintain and impress and boards and all of that. And so it is the business of making things and trying to get who to do what. And if you can answer that question and change out the those pronouns for whomever you're speaking to, you're going to win.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I love that distinction. It's a very thin line for me, but between art and design, because some of the best creatives that I know and see, the reason that they're able to get their work done is it's like, yeah, this may be the idea that I like the most, but this is not the one that's going to solve my client's problem.
I have been in a situation once where my client told me that they didn't like it. And I said, oh, thank God.
So why was that the reaction?
Well, because it wasn't for them. And if they would have liked it, and if they were the one that felt something, then we probably missed the mark. They were the wrong demographic. They were the wrong anything. And admittedly, one, it relieved tension in the room because really he was like, I just don't like it. But it also reset of, that's not exactly the point. Yes, we need your buy-in. Sure.
Yeah.
But you liking it, you are not the consumer. You are the stakeholder. Here is who we are for. Here is what we are doing. Sometimes like isn't in the equation for certain people.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good point, because I can't tell you the number of times I've pitched videos or projects or things. And to that point, the person I'm pitching to is like, well, I don't like it. And it's like,
it's not for you.
Thank you for saying that. Exactly. It's not for you.
Right.
Let's think about who the audience is.
Sure.
Who's the person that's going to receive and consume this? Because,
and now there's a line there, of course.
Yes. And I think one of the things, if I can speak to brand managers out there, if I can just talk to you all real fast, step out of your own way sometimes.
Sometimes.
You know?
I will say, this could be interesting. So I just made the pivot. I've spent my entire career on the agency side, 10 plus years. And I recently made the jump to in-house.
Okay.
It is interesting being
different.
On the other side of the table, if you will, being the brand manager, being the person who I was always selling to. And it's given me a new and interesting perspective that I didn't always empathize with as an agency-only person.
Okay. And what is that perspective? Because I'm curious now, because I'm going through something similar where I'm helping my parents. I'm in a partner in a painting company with my family, and I'm in charge of the advertising and the lead generation. So kind of the same thing, like now I'm that in-house brand manager again. But I'm curious what that perspective is for you.
I think the biggest thing that I've felt is just responsible. Like as a consultant, I want the best for you. I really do. I deeply do. Like I really, really have always believed in my clients and advocated for the best, all of those things. Like I truly believe that as a person, that I did that with integrity. But at the end of the day, it's not my business.
Yeah.
And now it is.
Yep.
My bonus is directly linked to if this company performs.
Yep.
Just plain and simple.
Yep.
It does make you more risk averse, of course. But it also just flat out makes you responsible for that recommendation, for going all the way to, or from, this is what I think we should do, to, all right, now how do we get it done?
Yeah.
And you have to go all the way. You have to pull at the cord until it unravels. You don't always have to do that as a consultant. In fact, sometimes you explicitly can't. It's too expensive. There's other teams, all of that stuff. Rightfully so. That's how agencies run their business and do their work. That has to happen. But working for not yourself, but for investors and shareholders and a CEO and running all of the marketing for a business, you are on the line. Your recommendation has to become true. And with a small marketing team, I'm a marketing team of 2. We're also responsible for getting it done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different feeling.
Yeah, I feel that. That's very similar because it's same thing, marketing team of 2. 3 if you count my dad / the CEO.
Sure.
And to that point, one of the things that we spent, like I started in August, and kind of from then until now, it was just like us getting our hands on, okay, we're doing all of these different things. We talked about it, like SEO and pay-per-click and this thing and this thing and this thing. And it's like, but what of those things are actually working?
Yes.
And then once we found that, like maybe it's my personality, but it was just like, okay, take everything else off the table. We're just going to shoot money at those 2 things. And it's like showing more ROI than everything we did last year.
Then you got to chase it.
Exactly. It's like, and once I like that image of the thread.
Yeah.
Because it was just pulling on all these different threads. And we found one that was like, oh, there it is. All right, cool. And away we go. So, yeah. So, because that's the hard part is like, as the internal manager, you're responsible for the brand, but you are not the brand.
As the brand manager, you mean?
As a brand manager, yes.
I think depending on where you are, what type of company you are,
Okay.
how big your team is, like you feeling that responsibility and an advocate for it, and the person has to get it done.
Sure.
If that's what you mean.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But what I mean by you are not the brand is like
I see where you're going.
The
now.
way the world.
You may not be the consumer.
Correct.
Yes.
And like I feel like creatives, what I'm trying to connect it to this idea that I'm trying to find is connected to this idea that to a creative, like, yes, you pour your heart and soul into your art, but you are not your art.
Yes.
And if someone doesn't like your art, that doesn't mean they don't like you.
Yeah, you have to, I mean, as a creative, you just have to be able to put your heart on everything, hold it up to the board, and then be told, we hate it. And then immediately go, so you hate me.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course. You do. And it feels like that. And it is that. And then you go, all right, well, throw it in the trash. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
I think that, honestly, I feel like people with a creative background or a creative intuition or a creative work, there's a hardening to what you put out that you have to. You have to have that. You develop scar tissue, really.
A little bit.
Of all of these things. I think you have to. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I would say that. I would agree with that because, sorry, were you going to say something? Oh, because for me, it's like, I think the scar tissue for me is I've become very good at identifying what mode am I in. Am I doing this, the art versus design? Am I doing this for art? Is this just self-indulgent? Is it just for me? Because at that point, like, I have probably 2 albums worth of music just on my computer, unfinished, that it's just like, I just like messing around.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be done.
Yeah.
But then I know when I'm in design mode. I know when I'm like, okay, these 4 organic social reels we're going to make for this client need to be this, 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 and this. And it's like being able to differentiate the 2. Like I can be invested without being attached, if that makes sense.
100%.
So.
Of course it does. I think that that's the delineation of I make things and I'm in the business of making things. Those are 2 different things. Now, granted, you come to the table with everything that you are to make that great. And I think that it's the emotion, like we're saying, like we make things and we make people feel things. Oftentimes it means that you come with everything you are. And sometimes it's, we don't like everything that you are, everything that you made, or everything that you just worked on for night and day with your team and thought was the answer and the reason. And that's just how it is. That's the business of making things.
Yeah. And Keith Rose used to say all the time, which I'm trying to get him on the show, Keith Rose.
Keith Rose,
come on,
get
man.
in here.
He used to always say, it's show business. And what's the operative word in that? business.
Business.
And it's like, it sucks, but it's like part of getting paid. As soon as I enter into a situation where I'm doing something creative and there's money attached, this is now a business transaction.
Sure.
And for me, I have to treat it a little differently. Unless someone, for example, I'll share this with you. I just announcement for everyone, season 2 of Echo and Ember is getting sponsored.
Hey, yo!
Yeah. David Jones and WizKid are sponsoring this season.
What's up, WizKid?
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Shout out.
That's fantastic.
We're going to do a proper cut-in commercial, but I just want to drop that news. But like, what's cool about that, though, is like, even though the money's involved, like, he was like, just do your thing. We just want you to do your thing, and then we're going to put our tag on the front and like a kind of, and like, those opportunities are so rare, dude.
Of course.
Where it's like, oh, so you want me to just like do this thing that I would be doing anyways, but you're going to help me do it by paying for it. Like, it's amazing.
That's what good looks like. That's what what people want. That's what making people feel things feel like. And I think in the business of making things, in fact, my boss oftentimes, who I have a very close relationship, she's fantastic. If you can find that in your life, I suggest you do. It's wonderful. We often are in a feedback conversation and she'll start with, "I'm sorry, don't hate me, but." And I immediately go, no, this is the point. Like, we both have different perspectives. We both are coming from our own expertise. You aren't saying, I don't really like the color. Like, she is a marketing expert and her feedback is quality and incredible. And don't hate me, but like, I think that while yes, we are putting everything in ourselves in it, I think the majority of people in creative know that that's the environment. And it's not like I'm like, oh, it hurts and I go home and heal and then I come back again. It's like, no, that's not even what it's like. Feedback in our world is constant. And that's when it's the most kind. If feedback isn't constant in our world, you're in a world of hurt.
I agree.
If you are around a team, especially leadership, who is not giving constant feedback, that's the worst environment to be in. Like, you want to pull apart every single idea all the time to make it absolutely great all the way to the finish line, instead of, I don't know how to say this, I don't know how to do this. Everybody works on giving feedback, getting feedback, and it has to be constant because that's the world, that's the job. And as long as you're giving it from your expertise and in a way that is constructive to where we're going and the combined goal for the consumer, all of that, you have to give it. And I would say if you aren't, that's the problem. Yeah.
A couple of things on the back of that, because I agree with a lot of things that you said. I think constant feedback is good, but question I would pose to you, what would you say the difference between constant feedback and micromanagement is? Because when I hear what you're saying and I agree, but I also see like this world where one of the things that I struggle with is where like, yes, feedback, I want it, but it's also like this idea of like, but stay in your lane. Like, let me do my thing kind of thing.
Question.
So like, curious what you think about that, like the difference between feedback and micromanagement.
I think that's a really interesting question. I hadn't put those two things at odds with each other yet, but I think you're right to do so. It might come down to the relationship, admittedly. Like, I would venture to guess, you're the creative, I'm the strategist.
Sure.
You and I have a solid relationship. We're working on a brand together. If you and I are having a conversation where you are, one, opening the door, where you're in a point in your process where you have a question or you want to bounce something off, one, like, moment of receptivity are huge. And two, I think the relationship is huge. You and I have a good relationship. I really respect you as a creative. I think you respect me as a strategist.
Absolutely.
And I think that in that sense, it's collaboration. There's a big difference between collaboration and micromanagement. I think the way you enter in is a big deal. And I think at the end of the day, sometimes it might just be if you like them. Truly.
I'm glad you said that, because that just took a lot of pressure off of me.
Truly. Like, let's be honest. It might be the attitude and it might be your perception of the person,
and the way it's delivered.
Certainly the way it's delivered, but also the way it's received. So I think both people, when you feel like you're getting micromanaged, you might have to check yourself and be like, am I being micromanaged, or do they have a place in this and I'm taking beef with it? Like, what is it? Now, granted, you and I have talked a lot about extreme ownership, which I very much am. Like, if something feels wrong inside of myself, I try to ask myself, like, okay, what's bothering me about that? Why is that true? It might be because I'm like, oh, they pissed me off last week. I don't know. And in that sense, like, I need to shut up and say, no, they are the expert in what they are commenting on. We are a team. We are collaborating towards the right goal. Hold on a minute. And a lot's in the delivery for sure.
Right on.
What do you think?
I think the difference is between feedback and micromanagement is a lot of what you said. For me, it's like feedback coming from a place of collaboration is shared ownership of the project that we're working on. For me, micromanagement, in my experience, comes from a place of fear. The person doing the micromanaging is afraid of what the outcome will or won't be. And so instead of trusting the people that are there to do the job, to do it, they put their hands on the whole process. But to me, that says like, okay, then if you don't trust the person who's doing the job, let's back up. Like, why is that? Is it because they don't have the skill set? Is it because their previous work hasn't delivered the output that you want? All of those things can be addressed, which to me is really comes to all of that points to just a breakdown in communication. For me, it's like, if I have to micromanage you, that means that the end goal may not be clear. So let's clarify that. But it's also just like the way that I like to work with people is like, look, I'm trying to get over there. As long as it's legal, ethical, and moral, I don't care how we do it. Or like I used to talk with Andrew Christie all the time. I'm like, bro, my job as a producer is to take you to the beach.
Okay.
And I want you to make the best sandcastle that you can. I need you to make the best sandcastle that you can. I'll get you the water. I'll get you the buckets. I'll get you all everything. I just need you to do it, and it needs to be done by this time.
Okay.
And that's kind of how I approach it. And so that's how I think about it. Is like micromanagement comes from a place of like, I'm not. Because I've worked with a lot of clients. I've been micromanaged a lot.
Sounds like it.
It's a sore spot. It sounds like the sore
subject. Okay, so since it's a sore subject, let me flip it back on you and play something out. So you also, I know for a fact that you believe that good creative is strategic.
Yes.
And I absolutely believe that good strategy is creative.
Yep. You're answering my next question I was going to ask you, but go ahead.
So that means that there should be inherently a blur between where those two things start and stop.
There's an overlap.
There has to be, right? Unless you've got one person doing it all, which I think is a bad idea. But if that's true, then the right process isn't, I do all of this, I'm going to hand it to you, and you do all of this. When you're done, you let me know. So inside of that, like, we have to work together, and we have to go back and forth. And that in the wrong environment or with the wrong relationship, wrong communication, quickly could feel like micromanaging. But is that not, in fact, towards the right thing? I don't know. I'm asking.
No, I agree 100% with what you said, because that was going to be my next question. I was going to say one of the things I like about you as a strategist is you're very creative. But you went there on your own. So we're here at this place already. But yeah, I agree. There's an inherent overlap. And I think in that case, I think about it like a film set, right? You have a producer who's responsible for getting everyone there. You have the director who's responsible for the vision. And let's say a DP who's responsible for the way it looks. Each person has a different responsibility, but those responsibilities all happen and take place at the same time.
Of course.
And I think that's kind of how I approach it, is like, there is some demarcation, there is some specialization.
I think there has to be.
But like, let's say we're working on a project together and like, you're the strategist, I'm the creative in this case. Like, I'm going to lean on you for all the strategy. Like, okay, who's the audience? Who's seeing this? Where is it going to play? All that stuff. And I assume that you would lean on me for hey, like, this is going to be framed we're going to build it for this box. It's going on Instagram, so it needs to look this way, or on YouTube, it needs to look this way, kind of thing. But I think, to your point, it becomes symbiotic. And that's not micromanagement, because I think you're approaching the relationship as equal partners in the final product instead of just like pushing down on the person who's ever's making the thing.
Because I think I have definitely worked with some people who they have called attempts to collaborate or work together micromanaging.
Oh, okay.
Where I don't think that's always true. Like, you do your job, I'm going to do mine, give me and go.
Okay.
I think is unhealthy to the process. Now, granted, I also fully believe in everything that you just said, which is people have to come from their expertise, own it, and really deliver it in a way that they can feel proud of and stand against and even defend sometimes. Mm-hmm. But I genuinely, in my soul, think that what we produce is better when we do it together.
I agree 100%.
I genuinely believe that in my soul.
100%, yes.
That means that it cannot be my turn. Okay, now it's your turn. Okay, now it's their turn. Time to show the client.
Oh, okay.
It can't be. I genuinely, with all my heart, believe that if we do something together, that it is better.
I agree. Yeah, and hearing you say it that way helps me realize that, like, how you were talking about, you were trying to give feedback and collaborate, and it was taken as micromanagement. That's fear on the person who's not wanting to be micromanaged. I think that's fear showing up in that way too, which is like, the thing that I make on my own won't be good enough. I have to be able to do it by myself to prove something that I feel a lot. But talking about it this way is like, oh, wait a second. Like, I'll say it this way. David Jones said it perfectly on his episode. He said, his mom said something about him. She's like, David, you're not the kind of person who wants recognition. You just want the credit. And I think that's what it is.
Tell me the difference between those two things.
So this show.
Should we ask Jones?
You can ask Jones. I'll use this show as an example. One of the reasons I love this show and having this as a project is like, it's a way for me not to be in the spotlight, but still have some control over it or be around it. Okay. And like still get some like the engagement on the show online is not very good. Like I don't get a lot of likes. I don't get a lot of comments.
My husband just subscribed.
Hey, yo, what's up? Thanks, dude. But every time I talk to someone in real life, they're like, I love what you're doing with the podcast. Yeah. And it's like, okay, cool. Mm-hmm. But that's credit. That like versus recognition, you know?
Like being in the spotlight.
A little bit, yeah.
Or leading, perhaps.
I'm cool with leading. I actually prefer to lead than follow. But like, yeah, being in the spotlight is like, look how amazing I am. I don't care about that part. Sure. But just like the appreciation of people like, hey, I like this thing that you're doing.
I think that's what you're at, is the appreciation or even validation.
Yeah.
Somebody the other day said to me, like, you know, Hannah, I think it's great that you don't care what people think about you. And I was like, I care deeply. I care deeply what people think about me. But I was like, ooh, how do I respond
to this? Thank you.
What do I do? Like, I don't know. And like, what did they see versus what am I projecting versus what am I doing? And so, I went home and thought about it for sure. And I realized that I care very deeply about what the people I care about think about me. Mm-hmm. Like I care deeply what my husband thinks about me. Of course. I care deeply what my mother thinks about me. I really care what you think about me because I care about you. Now, some random person or whatever, people watching this, but like all of those things, then no, I don't necessarily lay out the trajectory of my life for others.
Yeah. But I see what you're saying.
But I do very much care about what the people I surround myself with think about me. Yeah. Because I think it's a acknowledgement of if I'm living well and in line with my values and who I am and where I'm going. Now, I don't live my life for others, but I do think that that's a reflection of if I'm doing it well and if I'm in line with who I want to be. And I think that comes back to you as a mirror from others. That means I care what people think about me. So I think that what you're talking about is acknowledgement and it being played back to you of I love what you're doing. What you're doing meant something to me.
Yeah, there you go.
That, I'll eat that. I just
all day,
wish
dude.
I could eat it for breakfast.
Yeah, just serve that to me.
Oh my God, can I put milk on it and have it, keep it in my pantry? I want that. Like I deeply need that. But I don't need necessarily to have what was the other word you used?
Recognition.
I don't necessarily need to have the recognition or like my name in lights or all of that. But for someone to notice something that I care about or something that I put myself into, yes, that gets me out of bed.
Yeah, yes, 100%. And what you said made me think of something, and I'll tell this story and try to keep names out of it, just cause. But like, I had a job where I was involved in production, and I was supposed to go on this big project that involved going overseas to work on this project for this name brand that everyone knows. Sure. I ended up it was announced that I was going. And an all agency meeting and a big meeting for everyone. And And then I found out in closed doors that I wasn't going. And then when they presented the work, sorry, let me back up before that. As part of winning this client as a brand, there was a really late night where me and the editor were there till like 9:30 in the morning, finishing a video that we didn't get like specs for until like 4:30 in the afternoon. So it was like, all right, well, buckle up. Here we are, because it's due tomorrow, you know? And then when they present the work, I didn't even get credited for any of that. And I'd spent the whole day pulling footage for that.
And tell me let me see if I can articulate what you're feeling. It's not about that you wanted your name out on it.
Yeah.
But you did want to feel something, that you did a good job, that you were a part of something, that you put yourself on the line and it mattered.
Yeah. Like, hey man, thanks for doing that.
Yes.
Like, just that.
I get that.
Just that.
And I do think those two things are different.
Hey guys, real quick, wanted to take a beat and thank our sponsor for season 2, WizKid Creative. They stepped up in a huge way in supporting me and the podcast and making sure that the voices of the creative community in North Carolina can be seen and heard. WizKid is a full-service creative agency built for one thing, impact. And not just the flashy stuff, but real impact. The kind that moves people, grows brands, and turns ideas into work that actually works. So whether you have a business problem that you need to solve, or a brand in need of some love, or just want to make something cool, like a podcast, they're the crew to call. You can find them at wizkidcreative.com and tell them Echo and Ember sent you. They'll treat you right. Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. Versus like, did I want my name on the work? Not really, but I wanted people to know that the work wouldn't have happened if I wasn't there. That's what I wanted.
I think one is human need.
Yeah.
And one is ego.
Yeah.
And I do think that those are different. I think they show up in subtly different ways. I think you can play to them in subtly different ways. But I think what you're talking about deeply matters to people.
Yeah.
And really what you're saying is that you just want someone to show you that you matter to them.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think
I get that. Big.
If I think any creative that is being honest would say the same thing.
I don't know any human that wouldn't say the same thing.
You know, and so... And I think that's why I lean into the creative things that I do so much, is like, for as much as I want it to be self-indulgent, there's also a part of me that's like that little kid that's like, hey man, I'd like it if you recognize and validated, you know,
without question,
this person who's doing this thing.
You know what? There's a phrase that I hate and I want to just be banished from everyone's vocabulary is the phrase, it goes without saying. I hate it. Okay. It does not go without saying. Okay. Say it. Tell me.
Yeah.
Tell me.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
It does not go without saying.
Hearing on a podcast web show from a couple years ago that was like, this guy was like, I believe that if you have something kind about someone that you can say, you should tell that to that person.
100% agree.
Yeah.
Tell the people that you love them, kind things about them.
Yeah, 100%.
I think it changes people's lives. Genuinely.
I agree.
I think it is that big. Small things, I genuinely think that's all life is. There's small things stacked on top of each other towards hopefully something good.
And those small moments, that's what 100%. Changes the trajectory of where you land. I agree.
I think it builds better relationships, and better relationships lead to better work. Mm-hmm. I really believe that I'm doing some of the best work I have ever done in my career because I have good relationships at work.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I can see that 100%. Because I look at all the times where I've felt the most fulfilled by the work that I'm doing. And it's like, oh, it was because I was doing it with these other people.
Yeah.
And like the work itself may have maybe not most fulfilled, but the times I had the most fun at work.
Oh, well, yeah.
You know?
Always that.
It was always like, yeah, this situation sucks, but man, these characters that I'm in it with, you can make a TV show about this stuff, man. Like, yes. Because it was just like these outrageous situations. But when you really, like, for lack of a better term, trauma bonding.
I've been there.
You know?
I've been there.
You get to see, like I think about David Sherrill. Like, him and I are best buds now because there was a period there where we were their production department.
You've been through some stuff together.
And we've been through some stuff together, you know?
Let me ask you a hypothetical question.
Sure.
Okay, you're on a plane.
On a plane.
Like, truly hypothetical.
Okay.
So you're on a plane, and something is going wrong in the cockpit.
Okay.
Okay, and they come over the intercom, or maybe even directly to your seat. And they're like, something is wrong. We're going down. We need you to land this plane. No judgment. No, like, do you in your gut feel like you could do that?
No, but I would try.
Okay. So I have a theory about this. Mm-hmm. that question can lead to your really like your world outlook. I don't think it's a cocky thing. I agree. I'm like, let's go. I will land that plane. Do I know what the outcome's going to be? No. Would I absolutely be like, okay, let's do this? Yes.
That would be my response.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there are, like, I've asked this question to people, they're like, no? Are you out of your mind?
And I bet you can't even like have no concept for them saying no.
100%. And they have no concept for me saying, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's do this. I, again, believe in my soul that everything is figure-outable.
Yeah.
And I think that there are people who think things are figure-outable. Like, you got a brief at 4:30 and you were like, okay, let's go.
And it's due at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
I think things are figure-outable.
Yeah.
And I think that a team of people with that attitude, I genuinely believe that there is nothing you couldn't do. I actually do. And people are like, well, you couldn't. I'm like, I do.
Yeah.
I have a delusional amount of positivity in my life where I approach things with, and it's not even like I've decided this is my approach. I can't turn it off. Legitimately, I cannot turn it off. I truly believe that everything is figure-outable, and with the right amount of resources or people that we couldn't get it done.
Yeah. With the right people in the room, we're going to figure it out.
I agree with that.
It reminds me of this saying. It says, confidence looks like arrogance to those who have none. And for me, what that says is confidence really is just a belief in myself. And if that makes me arrogant, so be it. But like when I walk onto a set, I'm confident that I could do any role on that set and do it well.
Interesting.
I don't want to. There's ones that I want to do. I want to direct.
Yeah.
You know. But if you needed me to be the art department, if you needed me to do props, if you needed me to do hair and makeup, like to your point, figure-outable.
I do think it's figure-outable. I don't know if I would say I can do that and I can do that well right now. I don't know if I would say that because I do, going back to what we were saying earlier, I do think that there's something to be said about acting from your expertise in order to build towards the right stuff, right? Instead of being like, all right, well, now that's my job, and now that's my job, and now that's my job. And I will say, I think arrogance looks different than confidence.
Agreed.
I really do think that those are two different types of people. And like what we're saying, that the like, okay, we can do this, that glint in your eye and the high five and the let's go.
I just need 1% chance. That's enough.
I think that that's a different person than somebody who's just arrogant. I've met somebody who's just arrogant, and the difference might be hard work, honestly.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think somebody who's arrogant is like, okay, this is going to work. I don't know what that line is or where that is, but I think the like even irrational positivity that you can is different than arrogance.
I think, man, because I got like 8 questions I want to ask you, but I want to keep going on this. I think the difference though with arrogance, to stay on that thread, is arrogance to me is attached to ego. In the sense that it's self-serving.
Yes.
But I don't feel like confidence is self-serving. Confidence is just grounded in, like when you were talking about,
I think that's the right delineation.
I don't care a lot about what people think. You're like, no, I actually do.
I very much do.
But what I would say in response to that is, what I think the person was responding to is, I feel like you are very self-aware and grounded in who you are as a person.
That's nice.
And because of that, you can be confident in your skills and your abilities. And I think that's the line.
I do, because I do feel like you and I are both confident.
Yeah.
I don't think that either of us has a big ego.
I try not to. I used to. When I was in my early 20s, I had a really
I'm like,
big
maybe there's
egos.
a Gerald that I've never met.
There is.
Okay.
This is a work in progress over the course of like 10, 15 years.
I think it all is.
It is, you know. But
if we're ever working together again and you're like saying all the things that are like, yeah, it's figure-outable and I'm confident, I'm like, actually, you're just being an arrogant.
And that'll be our inside joke. But like, so to that point though, when I was arrogant, it was because I felt like I needed to prove to myself that I could be.
So really, it was a lack of confidence.
Correct.
Yeah.
And as I've spent more time doing this and had more and more opportunities to do more work, to do bigger and better work, it's like, oh yeah, okay, cool. Like, because like when 2 stories on that. When I graduated college, I remember telling my dad, like, did I miss something? Because like everyone else is celebrating and super happy, and I'm like, I don't feel any different. Like this doesn't make like I'm not a different person because I graduated college. Like it felt like another day. And he said to me, "It's like that's because you became the person who you needed to be to graduate a long time ago."
That's really incredible.
You know,
did that feel heavy to you that your dad said that to you?
Yeah.
That's really great.
I will say that like one of my biggest sources of confidence is this like acceptance that I've received from my dad.
That's
Because
awesome.
So going into that tangent real fast, like my name is Gerald John Roberts II. So I'm named after my dad.
Yeah.
My birthday is April 30th. His is May 1st. So it's like we share a birthday, we share a name. Like we have this really interesting relationship where it's like he's kind of sending wisdom back into the past.
Oh, cool. That's cool.
To like help the next version of Gerald 2.0 get to where he is, but be farther.
Very interesting.
You know, and that story in college is an example of that, where it's like that was him sending wisdom back into the past, his past self being me now going into the future. Great. But then the other story,
that's a really, really fortunate relationship that's wonderful.
It is not wasted on me how rare that is.
That's incredible.
It's one of the things, one of the pillars that I have is that.
Nice.
You know, it's like I know because. I mean, you look at the world, man, and like how many single parents and kids whose fathers are not around, and like the data related to that in terms of like success and economic mobility related to fatherhood in the home. Like, yeah. So it is not wasted on me that I have that. The other story is I keep hanging my hat on this one on this show is when we did the Napa work for the variable where I directed that. And like part of me was like, okay, yeah, I got it.
Nice.
But the other part of me was like, well, it's about damn time I got my shot, you know? Like half of me was like, oh, can I do this? Yeah. And the other half was like, no, like you can do it.
That's good. I think that I try to elect new experiences on a scale of confident and terrified. And admittedly, I think it's really important to have both when you're signing up for something. And I try to ask myself, like, am I scared enough? Because I think I should be. And if you aren't, then like maybe you need to be doing something else. And it might be why I've made slight changes inside of my career so many times, because I want to take everything I've learned and apply it to something just off center. That's where the like, ooh, that's a little scary. I'm a little terrified of that.
Can I do it?
Can I do that?
I kind of want to see if I can or can't.
I genuinely think that that measuring the things that you sign up for in that way is really powerful.
Yes, I agree because
it sucks too. By the way,
like,
it also is really scary.
It is because it's like, well, what if I fail?
Yeah, it comes with a lot of self-doubt, and like I'm saying that here, like I do that, and I'm like, ooh,
but people don't see that internal struggle.
It's really hard.
Of like, I'm reaching outside of my comfort zone.
The imposter syndrome is very real. The self-doubt is very real. The looking back on like, God, what did I do is very real. All of that every single time, and even personally, like I think that you have to attempt to scare the shit out of yourself sometimes.
Little bit.
Yeah.
Because I'm a bit of a video gamer. League of Legends back in the day, shout out. There was a character who one of his quotes was "comfort breeds weakness," and that always stuck with me.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah, I'm into that kind of stuff for sure.
But you're saying it kind of sounds the same thing, where it's like, if I stay in my comfort zone too long, like
absolutely.
Another quote from my dad: "If you're not growing, you're rotting." And I'm like, come on, man, you can't make it that binary, but it's kind of true.
Yeah, it is. And I feel like, like we're practically doing a podcast of inspirational quotes on the wall, but it is like, I don't know. It's harder it's easy to sit here and talk about. But I think that there are a set of values that then if you feel that in your life, I mean, good God, it's hard to show up that way every day, but I try to check in.
For sure.
Yeah.
So you hit on something with one of the 8 questions I wanted to ask you, which was imposter syndrome. And the reason I want to ask you about that is because, like I said, I feel like you're very grounded in who you are. You're very confident and not arrogant, but just like, I'm Hannah, and this is who I am, and this is what I can do.
That's really lovely.
And one of the things that I've found in talking with people about imposter syndrome is, this is going to sound arrogant, but like, a master to me is someone who's just made all of the mistakes there are to make. And once you do that, you're very aware of what you don't know.
Yeah.
How does that idea of being aware of what you don't know play into this idea of imposter syndrome and confidence and all that stuff? Like, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes. I think the thing about being a master of making all the mistakes there are to make, I don't know if that exists.
Okay.
I don't know if you could possibly get to all of the failures or all of the mistakes. Good Lord. I just feel like there's so many ahead of you that, one, I don't know if I ever want to get there. Back to what we just said. Like, you need to keep finding more things to be able to fail out. I think that's a really good and healthy thing.
Interesting. Because most people would say the opposite, but
I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think that, again, like, making sure that you're pushing and figuring out something new and failing at it and then doing something else. And if it's not in your career, like if you're just a career badass that is just raking it in and sitting on high and the person that everybody comes to because you've made every mistake, girl, go. But I'm definitely not there yet. I don't know what that's like. Mm-hmm. Maybe that sounds interesting. Then you have to do it in your personal life. But I think that the theory, I'm not going to remember the name of the theory. We can Google it and you can pop it up like right here.
Okay. If I do that much work on this.
Well, but really is that the more that you know, the more you realize you have no idea within a certain vertical. Like when you first come into something, it's a brand new world. You're like, I got this. I know everything. Here we go. And the more you learn about it, the more you go, oh God, I don't know anything in this field, because you're learning about all there is to know and then realizing that you don't have any idea about it.
Yeah.
And I think imposter syndrome is at the root of that. But the remembrance that, I'm learning so much more that I realize what I don't know is a very comforting thing to me, especially because I want to keep learning new and interesting things. So I like that being a goal. Then sometimes that feeling of being scared, I do have to take the time to remind myself, you did this on purpose. This is a part of your life goals. This is a part of what it means to you to be successful, is to be uncomfortable, to learn new things. It means I'm going to be uncomfortable. I do have to remind myself that, and sometimes it's not pretty. Like it doesn't look or feel good for a week or a month or whatever it is. But then you also, again, like I was saying, I genuinely cannot turn it off that I think everything is figure outable. And I love working with other people. And so when I don't know something, I call my boss and I'm like, hey, I don't have a clue what this is. What do you think? How can I get over this? What can I do? And you just have to, I think you have to live your doubts and your unknowns in public with people that do.
Yeah.
And then
I agree.
You keep going.
Yeah, live your doubts in public with people. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like imposter syndrome is the fear of that. Or not.
It might be.
Or not just the fear of that, but part of it.
Yeah, it might be in the being really scared to be found out.
Yes.
That I don't know what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
I think I don't know and I got it wrong are some of the best things that you can say.
Yeah.
Especially as a leader.
Again, ownership.
Big time. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah.
Is a fantastic way to start a conversation.
Yep.
Or, man, I got that wrong. What should we do now? I evaluate leaders on if they are willing to say that.
I agree. Yeah. I can't do it all by myself.
No.
I'm trying to surround myself with smart people
100%.
to help me do that. Yeah. It makes me think of, sorry, I lost it. Oh, that's what it was. I think the theory you were talking about is like, there's that graph where it's like your skill level compared to your perception of your skill level. And it's like when you first start out, like your skill level is like low, but your perception is high.
Yeah.
And then they like kind of intersect, and then like your perception is low, but you're actually getting better.
Yep.
Like that whole idea.
Yes.
Like those two things are kind of always parallel to each other, but maybe never actually touching. But then also like this idea that like to be an expert to me is like if someone hires me for a video project, it's either because they can't do it themselves or they can do it themselves, but they don't have the time.
Yes.
And it's like, and the way that I deal with imposter syndrome is like, I must be, if someone's willing to give me $15,000 for a project, they must see something in me that I'm either a really good liar a really good actor, or I'm actually who I like.
Yeah.
I'm who I say I am.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point about like living into your values and like constantly trying to improve yourself, if you're doing that, I think you're probably going to be the second one.
Yep.
You're much closer to who you actually think you are. And this idea of like caring about what the people around you think, especially the people you care about, I think the reason that, because I feel the same thing, the reason that I care about those people's opinions is because I trust their integrity of who they are as a person. So if they're reflecting those things back onto me, then okay, like ultimately I think it's got to come intrinsically, like I believe this about myself.
Yes.
But it's nice to have a second opinion and to have some market research that says that too.
Absolutely. Again, like it doesn't go without saying, please tell me all the time. Yeah, like I want that. I do. And I think maybe when it comes to imposter syndrome too, I think the best way to combat it is almost in writing and owning your elevator speech. Like I am positive that there are 1 to 2 key things that you are great at. Mm-hmm. Figure out what they are and lean on them the whole time while you collect more. Yeah. And then, like, no matter what, at the end of the day, when you go to bed at night, you know that you are an expert at these things. 1, it helps you communicate who you are, your value proposition, all of those things. And when you're bumping up against improving those other things, you know that you have a right to be in the room, a seat at the table, all of that stuff. And I think that might be something too about me. Like I know that there are certain things that I'm really good at, that I have curated and perfected over a career or over even my personal life. Like I'm good at this. And I intentionally put myself in situations to collect more. That's going to look a lot like failure. But I came into the room with things that I already had. Yeah. Yeah.
So this idea of collecting things and kind of collecting failures, like been playing music since I was 11, all that stuff. Got a drum set. Finally got a drum set for myself when I was like 29, 30 years old.
Yeah.
No, 31, 32. And the hardest part about like learning to play drums was being okay with my wife hearing me suck for the first 2 weeks.
That's interesting because I mean, the nature of drums, no matter what, it's honest. Yeah.
People are gonna hear you. But it was like once I got over that, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like,
yeah.
And the way I got over that is I was worried that she could hear me. She's like, I don't know how you treated your room or whatever, but like when I'm downstairs and you're upstairs in your room playing, I can't hear you.
Did it take her saying that for you to exhale?
Yes, it did.
Interesting.
It did.
Yeah.
And once she said it, I was like, oh, it doesn't, like, not only can she not hear, it doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't matter, you know?
It certainly feels like it does. You're saying it did.
Yeah. But then also, like, once I got over that and started playing stuff, like, I come out of my room, she's like, oh, that sounded really good. And I wasn't chasing that.
Right.
That's the thing. But it was just happening.
Right.
And so it's like, that's that. And I think that feedback loop is something that exists for creative people, too. Is like, you got to do it enough. You got to be okay with people seeing you suck. Like, if I go back to my first photography and my first videos work, like,
you have to be okay with it because like your goal has to be to get towards what you're doing. And that is not going to happen the first time, no matter what you're talking about. And so the goal, rather than being done or perfect or whatever, like when you put it on the table, instead should be, this is where I am. How do we get further? Period. And I think that those are 2 different goals that you're coming into the room with that are going to affect your attitude and your outlook.
For sure.
I think I got this piece from my mother. So with you and drums, I love to cook. Like, and I'm a baller cook.
By the way, that charbroil stuff we did a couple years ago, some of my favorite stuff I've ever worked on.
That was
because it looks so cool, and you're just like chilling out,
for
cooking
reference,
the whole time.
We did a shoot for charbroil. It was last minute. It was like, we need to film a cookout. And Keith Rose came to me and was like, we're filming a cookout. I was like, do I get to have control of the food? He was like, I don't think people really care about the food. I was like, if I'm cooking it,
it's got to be this way.
People are going to care about it. Yeah. And I do. So can we do that? And he said yes. And I was like, so I'm all in. I did like 5 courses. They were all on the grill. I love to cook. But I've been doing it since I was a little kid. It was something my mom encouraged. Now that I'm older, I realize that it may have been less about like, I'm encouraging your independence and more about, if you're doing this for 30 minutes, then I can do something else. So really, I think she just was really smart.
Yeah.
But I remember that she encourage me to be like, well, put it in there. I'd be like, what does this taste like? What is this? So put it in there and figure it out. Try it. I put like Skittles in soup one time because I thought it would be a good rainbow. It tasted awful, but that was the point. And now it's still the same thing. I think in cooking, in order to be a really good cook, you have to be okay with failing. Have to. And my husband and I every single night are like, yeah, it's good, but the chicken's kind of overcooked. And for me, that's not like, I can't believe you just said that to me. We do that every single time. I'm like, yeah, I really like this, but what do you think? I think it's kind of oversalted. And he'll be like, yeah, I agree, but this is really great. Like that outlook is genuinely across my whole life. It's like, I made this whole thing. I put all of this on a plate. Did I fail? And often the answer is yes. And that's just how we live.
Interesting. Very interesting. The reason I say that is because I feel like you are so comfortable with failure in a way that I've never seen in anyone else. But I think it explains a lot about
I don't think
what I love about you.
I think it's a really good thing. Like it doesn't bother me. It really doesn't.
Okay. So then my question is,
in the right places at the right times, like on purpose.
Okay. Because my question is, and it's kind of with the story, I've watched this podcast recently with Thierry Henry, who's like one of the greatest soccer football stars of all time. And he talked about how his relationship with his dad was very strained for him growing up because his dad, like, he told a story about how he was playing as a kid, maybe a teenager. They won a game 6-0. Wow. He scored all 6 goals.
Cool.
And his dad was like, do you feel good? And he was like, yeah, I feel great. Like, we scored 6-0. Like I scored 6 goals. We did. And he was like, well, you shouldn't because you didn't do this and you missed that. And you didn't do that and you missed that. And he went home and his mom was like, how was the game? He was like, no, it's good. Oof. And he just like walked off. And it's like, and in your story about cooking, there's an openness to self-examine.
Yes.
But I'm curious, how do you have what you have without creating what was in Thierry Henry? Because he talked about as he got older, like he couldn't enjoy, like he loves football, but when he would give an assist, he'd be happy and excited. But when he scored, rage. And so I'm curious, like, how are you so open to self-examination, but without like eroding your confidence, I guess is the question, you know? Because
it's an insightful question because I think that's interesting. I don't even know if I realized fully until the theme of this conversation is playing out. Like it really is an underpinning of like, I try to fail on purpose to get better and I'm comfortable with it and I welcome it. Like what you're saying, it's a receptivity to input, I suppose, from myself or from others.
Okay.
It might be that, again, I care deeply about my husband. We have a wonderful marriage. It might be in the receptivity back to the relationship that I'm okay with his criticism.
Yeah.
Or welcome it or care about it. It might be in that. It might be from my parents in that it was just okay as long as you tried and you work hard. Like hard work was a really big theme throughout my entire life. And I think that if you fail at the end of the most that you've got, I'll take that all day.
Yeah.
If you fail because you didn't try hard enough, I get the chills thinking about that. I can't tell you how upsetting that would be to me.
I mean, even in your demeanor right now, I can't even
think about that. Like if I failed because I didn't give it enough or didn't try enough or didn't, like if I didn't do my best, if that's why I failed, that would crush me for sure. But if it's because I tried and now I'm gaining new data points or now I'm learning for next, that's only a good thing. I'm like, oh, great.
Okay. What I'm gathering is I think you've had all these wonderful experiences over the course of your life as I psychoanalyze you from just this chair.
Maybe. This is turning into Hannah therapy.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But also Gerald therapy a little bit too, because like part of this show
I feel like our conversations typically
They usually are. We had coffee, last week?
Yeah, we were like,
I drank a soda because I don't drink coffee.
I'll
but it was
send you a bill for my therapy. You send me a bill for your... Cool.
It was an hour and a half on just this subject. But like, I think what you've been able to do because of these experiences that you've had, and they've all been so positive, you've been able to reframe failure as a tool for improvement.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what it is.
And yeah. And even just with the clarity that you said that, failure helps me improve, period. And I think for any creative listening, I think it would be really good for us to do the same thing. To just go, hey, yeah, this person rejected it, but they did the project. They didn't reject me.
No.
This is an opportunity for me to improve and get better at this thing that I love doing.
If you gave it your all.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, that's a very important underpinning.
Yes.
Failure is okay if you gave it your all.
Yes.
Because you can improve. And I think that's something that even just saying out loud, I needed to hear from myself. Because like, being a business owner, you got to go get the business. And they're always like, what's the thing you're most afraid of doing? Go do that. For me, it's putting myself out there on social media and saying, I'm doing this. I'm planting this flag in the ground saying can do this for you. And here's why I'm the right person for it.
Yeah.
That's a scary thing if you've never done that before. And so, but if you're giving it your all, it'll be okay.
Yes, I think that's true. I think that I also think that there are times in the process where failure is different and should be treated different. Like as part of getting to the result, failure is a tool.
Yeah, it's iteration.
Absolutely. That's iteration. That's the design process. I think, that might be another part is that the bedrock of industrial design is the design thinking process, which is a circle. It is design, test, learn, design, test, learn, design, test, learn. And so, I spent all of my bachelor's of science hammering into that is what you do. You design, test, learn, design, test, learn. And that's the point. Now, when you get to the stage of, back to the top of what we're talking about, the business of making things, you can't fail on like the stage of all of your investors. That's not the type of failure that I'm talking about. I think that, failing along the way, failing together looks like iteration, looks like making it better, looks like giving it your all, looks like caring deeply about the input of others who have the right expertise that you are bringing into this thing, that you can finally put something into the world that you all should be proud of, that consumers want, that's going to make them feel something, and then the business prospers. And then you have to do it again. Yeah. That's the whole point, right? Like that's a circle too. There's still no finish line there. So I'm not saying that I'm open to failing in front of my board. Like that's not the same thing. But I do think that even what you put into the world, you have to keep going. You have to keep improving. To some people in some ways that might look like, well, I didn't get it perfect the first time. Of course you didn't. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And this idea of design, test, learn, I think, I tell people, like creative people that I meet, like, and this is something that Chris Do says, is like, the higher the stakes are, the higher the cost of failure is, the higher the cost of the project.
Fair.
I think. And
super fair.
Yeah. And so it's like, that's why if Virgin Mobile or Virgin Airlines is going to redo their logo for all of their airplanes, like, it's got to be right because the cost to print it on everything and it's going and the world's going to see it. And so I think back to the business part of it.
Absolutely.
And the collaboration part of it, I think what the best relationships that I've found are like, let's the 2 or 3 of us that are working on this before it goes out in the world, let's fail as much as we can together.
Correct. Yes.
Let's get it all out here
100%.
And find all the holes and shoot all the holes in it together with each other. Because if it can survive us, then when it goes out, it should be fine. Doing
something on the world stage when you're working in national clients, national advertising, all of these things, like that's a different conversation. What I'm not advocating for is give it a go.
Oh, I know.
Like absolutely not. But I do think that part of the creative process is kicking it to shit.
Yeah. Just beat it up.
That's how you have to go. And then at the end of the day, you got to go for it.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm terrified kicks in. And is this going to work? Like there's always still going to be some sort of question at the end of it. Like, is it going to work? Are we going to make it? And if you're not in that sort of tension, it's not, it just isn't as fun.
Right on. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And that's what makes it fun is like, for me, at least part of it is like, as much as I'm the imposter syndrome, part of the fun for me is like, okay, I found myself in this crazy situation. Can I get out of it? Like, I don't know. Let's find it.
Let's figure it out
a little bit.
Yeah.
So we're getting towards the end. One of the last things I wanted to ask you was something that we talked about last week, which was you had a chance to work on a project where it was just like you and one other person.
Okay.
And it was like, we were talking about like big brand work versus local work and how this work, you were so proud of this work. And like, I'm curious, what was that process like? Where it was just like you and this one other person, you guys were just driving and pulling in people as you needed. Like, what was that like? And do you see that as kind of like a model or like a way that you like to work going forward?
You know, it's interesting because especially I know the situation you're talking about, and right now I'm finding myself in another where it's me and my boss, and we have a great relationship. And the situation that you're talking about was a similar one where it was me and one other guy, and we had a great relationship and different expertise, complementary expertise with a lot of trust and a lot on the line. Like there was, we both had a lot riding on it. We both wanted a lot to come from it, both for the client because we respected them in a huge way. They were incredible, incredible businessmen, but maybe more than anything, just really, really good people that I thought really highly of. On a personal standpoint, like they were some of the highest integrity people I've ever worked with.
That's cool.
And their business was great, which is wonderful. And they had just reached a point, they were, big enough that they're killing it, but small enough in a generational owned business that they were ready to take it up a notch in regards to marketing. So I think that one, that's a really interesting sweet spot that I'm interested in playing more in. I think it's a really great place to play where you have the opportunity to make big decisions, drive a lot of work, and have a lot of control over the work because the teams are smaller. You're not working with a bloated 3 agency teams. I've worked on projects that not only had a big team, but 3 separate agencies that were all supposed to work together. All of them were different teams inside of the agencies. It's a lot. It's a lot. This was not that. It was the exact opposite. It was me and my partner, different expertise, and we did what we thought was right at every turn. It started out in brand strategy. We needed to go into creative. And we worked hand in hand with the client, and we set up the relationship to make that true, that it wasn't one scope where they're like, we need this, and we felt we will deliver this. It was more of a relationship, not quite retainer-based scope, but more of a relational business where we genuinely felt like we could make the right recommendation and advocate for the right solution instead of advocating for the scope, which I'm not going to lie. I absolutely have found myself in situations where, if I'm honest, I've done because I know the limits of this scope. I know where we're going. I know what needs to be done. And it has to do with what you're incentivized to do as a member, as a client agency relationship. And that we found a way to break that, where we advocated only for what was right for the business, whether or not we thought we were the right people to fill that or not.
That's cool.
Which was unique and, again, kind of scary, right? Because we both had a lot of incentive to grow the relationship, of course, as we do. But at every turn, we genuinely were just like, this is what we think you should do. And I think it comes back to that ownership piece, which I now really feel on the in-house side, that we felt responsible for what we put on the table in a way that I think was different. And that had to do with the team environment that we built, the client relationship that we built, how much we respected them. So I think a lot of positive went into that.
That's cool. That's really cool. Well, and just one follow-up question. Yeah. What do you feel like the difference in the outcomes were in the times when you advocated for what was right for them versus what was right for the scope? Did I get those two things correct?
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And I'm not saying that that's how everyone does it or how I always did it, because that's not true. I think, we always try to advocate for what is right. But the reality is you're going to solve problems from your vantage point.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that comes from, your experience and your expertise. Like, a brand strategist is going to give you a brand strategy.
Yeah.
It is absolutely one of the reasons why I've been really specific in gaining more experiences so that I can solve the problem instead of giving you what I am. Because that isn't always right. You don't always need a brand strategy. You might need an advertising strategy or a paid media or something else or a package, all of these things. And so I think that when you have the ability to advocate for a solution instead of giving, here's what I am, this is my job, this is what I produce, it's different. It becomes... I think, again, honestly, I think it goes back to what we're saying. It allows you to create strategy that's creative and creative that's strategic because you're a dynamic person. You're advocating for the right solution, regardless of if it's only in your lane.
Yeah.
When you're only solving from your lane, I just don't think it's. I don't think you're doing yourself, your team, or the client justice in only living inside of one box. And I think that it's our responsibility to gain enough experiences that you can advocate for dynamic solutions.
Yeah. And again, I think that goes back to you're just like, I'm okay with failure because it's going to help me improve. And on the other side of that is my improvement helps me to serve people better.
Absolutely.
You know? So,
well, I think marketing is not a lane.
It's not.
Marketing is not a scope.
To me, it's a Rubik's Cube, and it's always different. It's just
absolutely. It's a collection of solutions. I mean, our consumers don't experience our brands and our products and our things in one way.
Yeah.
And so you cannot solve them in one way.
Yeah, and on that note, like as I get more into like thinking about marketing and brand strategy in relation to like the content agency I'm building and social media management, it's like, oh, wait a second. Like brands, if you really think about it, they're almost as dynamic and ever changing as people.
They should be.
They should be. Yeah. And it's like, once I started approaching it that way, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, so my job is just to make whoever's watching this be like, oh, I want to meet that person. I want to meet that brand. I want to know what they think. I want to know what's important to this person because they seem like they got something going on. Yeah. So how do, and it's really helped me change the way that I look at it. And that's why I landed on marketing as a Rubik's Cube because it's like, it's always different.
Yep.
But there's certain things that you can do, certain motions or tactics that you can use if the strategy is correct.
Well, that's the thing that I was going to say is I try to base all of my marketing and my approach to marketing as I have to figure out what are the things that are foundational and I have to lay it and hold on to it as tight as I can and never change it because that is who we are. That if you say this brand, they are this. And if you can build that and get people to know you for that and you never waver from that, oh, it's so powerful. But you on the right things for the right people in the right way.
Yeah.
Figure out what that is, build it and hold on to it as tight as you can. And then figure out what are the things that have to be agile, what are the things that have to be able to change, that you're willing to change, and then be willing to let go of them. Yeah. And figuring out those two things, I mean, it goes back to the imposter syndrome. Show up in the room with the things that you are an expert in and stand on them, absolutely with your chest out, chin high, and gather more experiences and be willing to fail so that you can collect them and build on them and all of that. It's like you have to figure out what is foundational, what is agile, and keep it spinning.
Love it. So how I usually end the show is, and you've kind of already done it a couple times, I've asked you a ton of questions.
You said you had 8.
I lost them. You kept track of that too. It's just the ADHD brain. It was hyperbole, over-exaggeration. Thank you for calling me on that. I asked you a lot of questions. Do you have anything that you want to ask me? Something I do at the end just to like kind of flip it and as a way for saying thank you for coming on the show.
I have one that's personal and I could do one professional. Which one do you want?
Both. We can do both.
Okay.
If you have the time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The personal one is, I'm curious, so you talked about your relationship with your dad.
Yeah.
And you said, like, that's one of the pillars in my life that I really hold on to. It makes me think that you've put thought into your pillars as a man.
Interesting.
Is that true? And if so, like, is there another thing in your life that is a pillar for you? And am I right that do you live your life, as a man, as a husband, as all of this with like guiding rules or principles or a mantra that you have?
Yes, but it's not something I have put thought into it, but it's not something like I don't have a.
You're not like, this is how I live.
Yeah, it's not like, it's more of a subconscious, like underlying subtext in my life. Like I think we've talked about, I'm Christian, very Christian, very much believe in God and Jesus Christ. And I think like my relationship with them informs a lot of the way that I make my way through the world. If I had to pick my favorite scripture, I can't remember the reference, but it would say, by this shall all men know that you're my disciples if you have love one to another. And like that. And I admit, I'm not, dude, if there's one thing that's going to keep me out of the pearly whites, it's going to be driving in traffic because I don't understand why it's so difficult. I become a villain in traffic. Like I've said multiple times, this might make it on, might not. When I drive in traffic, I understand why Thanos did what he did. Sometimes you just need to get rid of half the people, you know? But yeah, like I wouldn't say it's like I would say it's a conscious choice. I try to live my life intently in a way of be kind, be compassionate. And then you talking about as a man, like, it's funny. I just watched this video this morning about how Aragorn is like from the Lord of the Rings is like the perfect example of masculinity. I would say a very good example of masculinity because he will fuck you up if you give him the chance. Like if you're his enemy, he will mess you up, right? But he's also very kind and tender with women and with people who are deemed to be lower than him. Like at the end of the third movie where he's like, hold up, you bow to no one, to the hobbits. Like to me, masculinity is like, again, being grounded in your confidence of who you are.
And advocating for space for other people as well. It's interesting.
And so that's kind of how I'm trying to live my life that way, where it's like finding the things that I am willing to stand on, as you said.
Yeah.
And in doing so, standing on it, but also giving creating space for other people to do the same. Especially other people who may not have had the chance. And I didn't really reach that point until I was able to be the chair of the DEI board for the variable. And I was able to see a different perspective and go, oh, wait a second, privilege, this, that, whatever, maybe my position, because I have so, maybe I can create space for other people to have so.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of the mode that I'm in right now.
I think that's cool.
I had to stop myself. Today was a day of why am I doing this? Why am I building this, my content agency? Why am I doing this podcast? Why did I leave my job? I could go clock in and clock out somewhere and make bank. But it was because I believe in my ability to provide a better life for myself and Christina.
Yeah.
And this is the best way for me to do it.
Yep. I think that's really pure.
It's going to hurt on the front end, but that's delayed gratification.
It
are
hurts now,
and it's better later.
You are the right mix of confident and terrified in where you are right now.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. So
that's good.
So that's how I would ask the first question.
That's great.
Pillars is very much my relationship with the divine, and just living my life to put the needs of others before my own, but not instead of my own. Because I think those are two different things.
I think that's great. I see that in you.
Thank you.
For what it's worth. I see that you live your life that way. I think that's great.
I try really hard.
Yeah.
To your point about not
great.
caring about, I try really hard.
No, I see that you are a person that puts the way that you're thinking or framing big, weighty topics about how do I live my life with God, or how do I live my life as a person, just out there for someone to say yes, that's true about you, or I don't know, let's reframe that. And I see that you show up in that way of, I'm asking myself this question. Let me put that out there today and try that and try it on for size and see how it does. While with the acknowledgement and willingness to shift and morph into something better. I see that from you. I think that's great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I will say a lot of that comes from self-examination and being open to examination. Again, being married also is okay, if I'm your husband and I'm supposed to be a certain type of man to be this kind of husband for you, I have to be open to your feedback on if I'm doing that or not.
Totally.
And in my opinion, proactively seek that out.
Yeah.
Like, let's just temperature check and be open to like, hey, I know to her saying, I know you want to do those things. You're missing in these places right now.
Yeah.
And then also, but by doing that, by going first, it creates an environment where we can do that with each other. Cause then I can go, hey, like, these are the things that I need from you.
Yep.
And I would appreciate it if you did X, Y, Z or didn't do X, Y, Z.
Yep.
Case in point, yesterday, I was at the Variable just hanging out. Christina was downtown for our brother-in-law's. He just got his PhD yesterday. He just defended his thesis. Congratulations, Dr. Ian Wadsworth. And she called me after it was over and was like, well, we might be going to food. We might be not going to food. I'm like, okay, cool. And she's like, I'm thinking of maybe going to Chad's Chai to get a matcha. Like, I might do that. I'm like, okay, cool. If you decide to do that, let me know. I'll come with you, right? You probably know where this is going.
Maybe.
About 30 minutes later, one of our mutual friends works at the Variable. And so Christina came and we were like, yeah, just come hang out, like whatever. And then we got on the topic and Christina was like, well, I don't remember how we got to this place, but it was like the assumption that conversation we had meant we were going to Chad's Chai. And I was like...
Misalignment.
I was like, well, no. Like, the conversation ended with me saying, with you saying you might want to go, and me saying, okay, cool, let me know.
Right.
To me, that means it's up in the air. To her, that could mean we're going, and we haven't gone yet. And so it's just like... And that was a moment for us to address. And then later, like when it was just the two of us, I was like, hey, in those situations, if you want to go, can you like explicitly say that you want to go? Like, and so it's just like that is a microcosm of what our relationship is like. And then this example, it's me giving her something, but there's a lot of examples of her giving me things.
I think that in your willingness to do that on small stuff, like we're going to Chad's Chai, like your willingness to come back and be like, hey, this missed the mark for me.
Yeah.
Sets you up to be able to do that in big stuff. Because if you can't do that over a cup of coffee, then you can't do that.
Yeah. And that's my thing is it's like, let's just have the conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
And it wasn't in any way like, I'm not attacking you. It's just like, this is something that's hard for me and I want to make sure that I can show up for you in the way that you want or need.
Correct. I was going to say that's the biggest thing is that you want to be there because really you left her at Chad's Chai by herself and you don't want to do that to her or for her. You want to be there for her. You want to meet her expectations, all of those things. Yeah. And so you are having her help you do that. And
to just help with the story, we ended up going to eat together. So like we didn't miss Chad's Chai. So you didn't
leave her.
I didn't leave
at
her.
School.
Correct.
The last kid to be picked up.
Correct.
For the record.
Correct. So that was the first question. That was a personal one. You had a professional one.
Gosh, I forget at this point.
Okay. All right, well then.
Chad's Chai.
Chad's Chai. Maybe they'll be a sponsor. You never know. That'd be sweet, by the way. Okay, so then to finish up, one of the things I like to do, like what's the best way for people to find you, either online or in general, like website, Instagram handle if you have it, LinkedIn handle, like what's the best way for people to find you?
LinkedIn, honestly, is where I'm the most active. LinkedIn, Hannah Rankin.
Right on. All right, well, thanks, Hannah. This has been so much fun.
Really fun.
Yeah, I'm glad that you got to come. This has been Echo and Ember. We'll see y'all next time.